Environmental degradation is the deterioration of the environment through depletion of resources such as air, water, and soil, the destruction of ecosystems, habitat destruction, the extinction of wildlife, and pollution. As demonstrated by the condition, ecological affair or debasement is brought about by the mix of an effectively extremely enormous and expanding human populace, consistently expanding monetary development, or per capita abundance and the utilization of asset draining and dirtying innovation. The environment is the most important resource for life. We get water, power, and oxygen from the environment. It helps to clear pollution and is a large habitat for animals. Food and climate change. You may think that food does not play a big role in pollution, but it does, as both the world's population and technological becoming more effectively increasing, the way and scale in which food is produced has changed. Thus, the food we eat also has a climate impact. Understanding the resources that go into producing our food can make us more aware of the link between food and climate change. The more you don't care about our environment, the more it will become polluted with contaminants and toxics and have a harmful impact on our health. Air pollution can cause respiratory diseases and cancer, among other problems and diseases. Hence, the local authorities have to promote more care to the environment. This is because it refers to the variety of plants, animals, and other living things in our world. Can be negatively influenced by habitat loss and degradation due to human activity, climate change, and pollution, among other things. There will be water pollution and water scarcity. Water scarcity compounds these health problems. Productivity is affected by the cost of providing safe water, by constraint on economic activity caused by water shortages, and by the adverse effects of water pollution and shortages on other environmental resources. Human health might be at the receiving end as a result of environmental degradation. Areas exposed to toxic air pollutants can cause respiratory problems like pneumonia and asthma. Millions of people are known to have died due to the indirect effects of air pollution. Deforestation, global warming, overpopulation, and population are a few of the major causes of loss of biodiversity. Global warming may lead to increase in the risk of climate-natural disasters, including sea rise damage to coastal investments, regional changes in agricultural productivity. Extinction of flora and fauna. Environmental degradation will cause the extinction of plant and animal species, will potentially affect the development of new drugs where it will reduce ecosystem adaptability and lead to the loss of genetic resources. Our Earth is the most important thing about all of our lives, no matter who we are. Preventing environmental degradation is a journey we should all be taking part in. The first prevention is reducing our overall consumption of resources, which is our world's natural resources being minimal, but many people seem to have forgotten. This involves chopping down trees to make paper and other products we use, as well as fossil fuels such as diesel to drive our vehicles and keep our factories going. Thus, our biodiversity and flora rely on their natural habitat. If we keep knocking it down to satisfy our needs, we will have nothing left. The second way is we have to recycle what we can and whenever we can. So recycling is the only way to slow down environmental degradation, and everybody should be part of it. If we want to save the earth and do this together, we will recycle the best way to combat environment degradation together. Next is the green transportation, which means green transport or sustainable transport includes modes of transport that do not rely on the destruction of natural resources such as fossil fuels. This mode of transport is focused on green energy resources. The last way is giving back to the environment, which means planting trees. You know, the only way to help avoid environmental degradation is to preserve the ecosystem. Trees provide us clean air to breathe, practically suck out the bad and pump out the good, which is why we will never have lived out without them. The COVID-19 has created an enormous impact in most nations around the world, almost spread to more than 2 million people and impacted around 130,000 deaths. The current situation of the most countries have tried to overcome the spread of virus with COVID-19 screening tests and establishment of public social distancing policies. But as per now, this pandemic gives a lot of negative impacts towards human health and economically until today. Apparently, this pandemic also gives indirect positive impacts to the environmental, which is rehabilitating the depletion of sources such as air, water and soil. In a nutshell, Earth provides us so many natural resources, so we should treat the environment of our Earth like our mother because it also nurtures us. Moreover, we don't know that if our environment gets more polluted, then it will ultimately affect our health and future. Perhaps we should adopt a holistic view of nature. We should bear in mind that nature is an entity that exists separately from us, meanwhile the nature is us. We are an inalienable part of it and we should care for it in the most appropriate manner. So as a good user of nature, we are responsible to preserve and prevent our environment.